This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following show do not necessarily match those of WPSL, but we encourage you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors. It's time to get real with our health, friends. It's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World and hosted by Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a fantastic morning. Thank you for spending an hour with me this morning. I really appreciate it. I know how crazy life is these days, right? So thank you. And this show, I think, yes, obviously I have a new granddaughter, so it motivated me. But the little tie-in with the shortage of infant formula definitely motivated me as well.
I was going to say, bringing up a new granddaughter. I wonder if it's going to be about infant formula.
Oh, yesterday I decided to stay home to get some chores done. That was definitely overlooked because we went to a family wedding over the weekend, so I didn't have my normal Sunday at home. But wow, what a day. And Shelby, my daughter-in-law, she has a couple people in her life that had babies earlier on, and she's telling me what they're experiencing when they Google about babies' nutrition, infant nutrition, and formulas. And I'm like, wait, that's not accurate. That's not the information that I had even 12 years ago when I had my second child. How is this information out there? It's completely inaccurate. But I realized that like in any industry, there is inaccuracies, there is corruption, there is money-driven information. So I'm just hoping that if you have an infant or a pregnant person in your life, that this information becomes useful. But if you don't, before you decide not to listen, consider this: that miraculous infant with all the cells and the glands and the hormones, you are still that system. You are still that miraculous system. You're just a little bigger, okay? So if this information can apply to any human, no matter your age. So I do hope that this information can get shared, because I really think it needs to be. All right, and before we go into it, I want to make a couple announcements and get ready for the breath work. So if you're a newbie, welcome to the show. Every morning, I encourage you to do some breath work, whether it be led by a YouTube video or just on your own. But we are going to use our nose only. Let's not use our mouth for breathing, okay? And we're going to use our nose. We're going to breathe in for 5. Hold for 5, and exhale for 5. Let's just do this 2 rounds, okay? A lot of info to cover. So everyone, let's exhale out any stress, uneasiness, any
drama?
Yeah, any drama, right?
We can exhale all of that?
Yes, wow. Yeah. So any phone calls you had this morning that upset you, let's get that junk out of our brains, and let's just calm down with some breath work. All right, so exhale.
Are you ready, folks? Let it all out. And now let's begin through your nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Slowly release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, inward. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you very much,
feel
sir.
Better?
I definitely feel better.
You look relieved. You look like something went away.
Don't I? But it's incredible. So we did a little test at the store. So at the store, we have like blood pressure monitors and we have glucose monitors, because I realized that there are just some of us out there that get nervous about being tested, not only at their doctor's offices, but anywhere, because there's like a fear. What am I going to find out? Am I sick? Do I have to worry about heart disease or stroke? So I encourage people, if you're a little nervous, we can test you at the store to take that fear away. We're non-judging and loving people. But so we did this little high blood pressure test. And we tested it with 3 people before, and then we did breath work and 1 serving of beets. And then we tested again, and the blood pressure went down considerably. For one, it was 12 points, another, it was almost 29 points. Yeah, like huge numbers. So consider that. Some people sometimes overlook the simplest solutions because they just can't conceive that something so simple as breathing could help us. But remember, Wim Hof proved that our autonomic nervous system can be controlled with breath. It's been documented. So breath work is critical, especially if you keep trying all these different meds with horrific side effects and still not getting anywhere with your blood pressure. Give the beets and some breath work a try, okay? All right, and the other thing I want to mention, if you're looking for a Father's Day gift and stumped because the man in your life definitely has everything and anything you could imagine, we still do offer that Detox Day special at the Wellness Center. So for only $99, you can get a gift certificate, and it's incredible. And if you want to join that father, 2 people together is a wonderful day at the Wellness Center. It's about 2 hours for 1, or about 2.5 to 3 for 2 people. A full hour massage by Marianne, who has 30 years experience. There's infrared sauna. There's pulse electromagnetic frequency service, which is a mat, super comfy to lay on. And then, of course, our most famous one we've been doing for 20 years is the Ion Foot Cleanse. So $99. I mean, it's an incredible experience. We have everything there, towels, wraps, beverages. So please come on in, grab a gift certificate. I really try to keep the prices super low so that all these cutting edge technologies can be experienced and really afforded. So give that a shot. All right, so pregnancy. Now, I hope my listeners have heard the expression that the nutrition must begin before conception. Okay, but sometimes we get surprised by pregnancy, so then we just start making choices or hopefully lifestyle changes once we discover we're pregnant. And so it's obvious you don't want to consume empty calorie food. Sugar, of course, is the biggest offender in life. It doesn't matter if you're pregnant or you're an infant or you're a 70-year-old adult. Sugar is one of the hardest things to avoid, but the most toxic thing in our world. It is everywhere. It is really difficult to deal with, but for this time, when it comes to infant nutrition, it's definitely the most critical thing to consider. You know, why, when an infant isn't already craving, isn't like dealing with what we deal with every day, the reward system based around sugar, the hectic pace of life, running through drive-thrus. That's not them. They're an infant. They're depending on us to start their development perfectly. So that's the first thing. Are you giving that infant sugar? Okay? And the reason I bring that up, because not all moms can breastfeed. And breastfeeding, of course, is ideal. And breastfeeding should be done a minimum of 12 months. I mean, some of my mentors joke that it should be done their whole life, right? But obviously not. But like I tried to breastfeed as long as possible. My son was 2 years. My daughter was a little over a year. And yes, you make sacrifices. And yes, you have to keep your nutrition on point. But it was, for me, I tell moms, it wasn't just about nutrition for me. It was about cost. You save so much money if you breastfeed. And it was also about laziness. I didn't want to get out of my bed a couple times in the middle of the night to go make a bottle. To me, that's a lot more work than just, breastfeeding. So I know there's different viewpoints, and there's some women that just really do not want to make the choice to breastfeed. And everyone has that choice. So if you are deciding to breastfeed, I will start with those choices, okay, as far as nutrition for breastfeeding, and then I'll cover different formulas and which ones are the best, okay? So with breastfeeding, it's just like adult nutrition in general. To avoid sugar is a great idea, okay? But if you have a sweet tooth, I noticed when I was breastfeeding my daughter versus my son, I had tons of sugar cravings, okay? And it was really hard at first because when you're tired, and I think this is for all of us, at least a lot of the people that I work with, that when you're tired, you crave empty calorie and refined sugar. It's kind of like that system that says, okay, if you just, jack up your sugar levels real fast, you'll have the energy to complete that project that day. It's like that old Snickers commercial, eat that Snickers bar and you can play that soccer game, really fueled up and complete. But it's just the opposite. You are not getting any real source of energy. You're just getting a glucose spike that creates inflammation, disease, and disaster, because that is an addiction that just goes on. And as you can tell, you never get satisfied with that one cookie or that one gummy bear or that one sip of juice. You constantly want to feed that sugar monster, and it's never ending. It's a horrific cycle to be in. So if you're breastfeeding, some of the things that I would suggest is eating whole fruit. I know it's not the same as a cookie, trust me. I have my battles with sugar, but it is really, really better. I don't even advise clients to eat fruit because it has that much sugar, but for breastfeeding, your body can tolerate, a few Granny Smith apples. They're really high in fiber, some nutrition. Definitely pick organic when you're choosing fruit. There's over 300 different chemicals and different waxes and food coloring used on fruit. So you want to choose organic. So Granny Smith apples is my first choice, okay? And then berries, and I always say apples too for breastfeeding moms, because if you're in your favorite breastfeeding spot, your chair, your bed, whichever it is, sometimes even the effort of getting up and washing or getting fruit together is a little bit hard work in the beginning. So if you get a whole bag of organic apples, you wash them all up, they're not like more temperamental fruit that it starts, going bad as soon as you wash it. So you can wash them real good, and you can even have them out on the counter, and you can be eating it as your baby is breastfeeding. So it's a good snack that will give you some, sugars to really get you through the moment. I always suggest eating fruit alone. Please never eat it as a dessert. It digests differently, and the last thing you want as a breastfeeding mom is indigestion or just gas or bloating. It's just, you have enough going on. Okay, and then the other fruit, much more temperamental but highly recommended, is all the organic berries. Blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. They're a little bit expensive right now, so sometimes the frozen organic berries is a more economical choice. But if you can figure in your budget for some organic berries, snacking on those, boy, what a wonderful pick-me-up, bringing, and sometimes just the nice different flavors. Sometimes a little sour or bitter is good for the digestive system and your tongue, to kind of help you and the baby keep your digestive system fully awake, your gallbladder, your liver, everything just on top of its game. So definitely the organic berries, definitely some organic apples. Now, if you vary some other fruit, just be careful of the real high sugar ones. The melons, the grapes, definitely bananas are a no-no in when I work with people. Bananas, not only the high starch content, but what also is not a good thing, they're very filling. So when you're trying to put dense nutrition into your body, but you fill up on a quick, easy, sugary, starchy banana, you won't be getting all the nutrition you need. And of course, everyone's hung up on the whole, oh, but it has so much potassium. Not really. There's many things that have more without the sugar and the starch. So please, not for you or your infant, fill up on the bananas, okay? And then the other thing is tons of healthy fats. I say healthy, and I do mean that beef is in that healthy mix, grass-fed butter, really high-quality eggs. Our body needs the cholesterol not only during pregnancy, but especially breastfeeding and the beginning of when you're introducing food to an infant, that every single thing, the brain, the nervous system, the endocrine system, your immune system, everything needs that healthy fat to form. Every single cell needs the fatty acids. There's 161 different fatty acids that make up the body. But again, like anything else, the fatty acid world has gotten a little tricky. We are industrializing most of our food supply, and in doing so, you have your animal products that are raised to be a different fatty acid profile. So you want to really spend extra, and then you could always cut the quantity down. So if the budget doesn't allow for you to have too much of this grass finished or really high quality eggs or wild fish that have the right fatty acid profile, then you will have to go with a little lesser quantity, which we overconsume, I find, in this country either way. So a little better quality, a little less quantity, and you can get that right financial ratio for your food budget. So you definitely want to look into so for instance, if a fish is raised in a tank, it's going to be fed pellets, okay? And in doing so, instead of that having that beautiful omega-3 profile, which we need in the body to not only create the perfect human, but also sustain it, then you're getting an omega-6 profile. They're finding where the omega-3 should be about 16:1. It's being the opposite, if not worse, for us now, and that's why our inflammatory process is through the roof, and chronic inflammation is creating severe illness for all of us each and every day. So let me just take this off. So the other thing to consider is with beef, the same exact story as the fish, sometimes even worse. The cattle are supposed to, so buffalo, everything is naturally supposed to graze on grass, and that's why you'll see in the higher end meat packaging, usually much smaller packaging, you'll see grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It is critical because the grass gives that beautiful fatty acid profile that our body wants versus the omega-6. So what's wonderful in the meat world is there are sources online as well in your local stores. So here in the Treasure Coast area, I could throw a stone in pretty much every direction and find grass-fed meat. Now, grass-finished, a little tougher. So what the difference is most people like a little marbling with their beef to get flavor, and that is the fat that is actually good for us, okay? So if it's grass finished, it's much leaner, okay? And so a lot of companies are doing grass-fed and then they finish, but what they do, and this should show us something, okay, about grains, if they give them grains for their last part of their life, they fatten them up really fast. So again, for all of us that are wondering why we can't lose weight, it's the grains. Grains really keep us heavy. It's just, there's a lot. I could do 2 whole shows just about the grains now, the grains in the United States. So a lot of my my clients when they like don't want to give up their grains. But my mom and my grandmother, they ate all that. But the grains they ate are not the grains that we have on our supermarket shelves now. So keep that in mind. I know that grains had a place, but right now we do need to clean that industry up a bit, and especially when it comes to breastfeeding and infant nutrition. So I will get into that a little bit in a minute. So let's go back to the basics. So we want grass-fed, grass-finished, organic fruits, and of course organic vegetables. So most of the trace minerals, the B vitamins, especially folate, they come from our leafy greens. So you really want to pay attention. I always kind of sarcastically say the government says, 9 servings of vegetables, right? Well, that is years ago, and that's that's based on the vegetable nutrition profile of many years ago. Could you imagine what the amount is now? So, but let's start there. How about we start with at least 9 servings. Most people have a cup and a half average serving a day. That's really a scary number, okay? Vegetables give us, so when you look at the basic food groups and you see carbohydrates, that's vegetables. It's not empty calorie food products that are granola bars, cereal, and all that processed junk that's full of sugar and colors and chemicals. It's vegetables. That's the carbohydrates, okay? That's all your body needs, but it really does need it. It needs vegetables for the variety of all the different nutrients. So your vitamins, your minerals, your fiber, your polyphenols, all that needs to be coming from your vegetables. If you're saying to yourself, I try and I try, it's just not convenient enough, it's just not tasty enough, it's just so much work in the kitchen, I totally agree and I understand. But when it comes to breastfeeding and the infant nutrition, I mean, for instance, the brain takes 1,000 days to grow properly. And those first vital 3 to 5 years, I think it should be forever, but I'm biased on this one. You really, really want to give that body nutrition. It has nowhere else to get it from. And if you say, well, I'm doing something that has all these vitamins and minerals, study each one. Google it. You'll find that all those vitamins and minerals that they fortify the infant things with, or even our food supply with, are synthetic. They're laboratory made, and they actually have negatives more than positives, okay? So just because it says vitamin A, it doesn't mean they got it out of a carrot or a sweet potato and they threw it in something. It could be a more dangerous source that's a synthetic preservative, okay? So really, all you have to do is Google each ingredient and take a few minutes, and you'll see for yourself where it's derived from. All right, so with the breastfeeding, so we talked about having a little bit of fruit to help you get over the sugar cravings and a lot of healthy fat. The healthy fat will sustain you calorically because your body will burn a lot of calories when it's breastfeeding. But you definitely want to have the healthy fat because your baby will also be taking a lot of your nutrition. It goes naturally to your baby first, and then you get leftovers. So you want to make sure that you're nourishing your body. And you'll hear a lot that, especially from breastfeeding moms, it's like, oh, I'm losing hair, or my nails aren't as strong as they used to be. That's because you're giving your baby everything it can get, and the baby has very high nutritional needs, like I mentioned, for the first few years. And there are a lot of countries that do encourage breastfeeding up to 3 years because of that reason, because there's nothing else in nature that has a breast milk profile. There's just nothing, because they can't stabilize it, because with all those fatty acids, it would just be so crazy expensive. It's just almost impossible to make. It is impossible to make breast milk in a canister and sell it. So yes, and so after your grass-fed meats, your organic eggs, and all that good stuff, be very careful about oils, okay? So the only exceptions that I can see in the industry right now is high quality olive oil and coconut oil. All other oils, unfortunately, have issues with them, okay? And some very serious issues, okay? And again, that would be a whole nother show. So you want to stick with olive oil, extra virgin, really high quality in a glass bottle only. And you want to do the coconut oil, again, you want the first pressing, you want to make sure it's not bleached, homogenized. Some tricks that I've given on my coconut oil shows is that when you open up the container, you should smell some coconut, because that would be a little worrisome if you don't smell coconut with coconut oil, okay? And you want to make sure that the color isn't too white. I say that because they are bleaching it. They're thinking, just like they do with the bread industry and the flour, instead of having it whole grain, multi-seed, all this wonderfulness, they all of a sudden bleach it so it's more acceptable to the consumer. And in case they don't like the flavor of coconut, with bleaching, they'll take out the smell. And then they do this process so that way it stays easy, more convenient for shipping, which is they homogenize it to keep it stable and solid. So coconut oil should start melting when it gets warmer and then gets super hard when it gets cold. That's the natural abilities of the coconut oil. So consuming those, during breastfeeding and right now, it's very healthy, especially the olive oil. A lot of incredible people, in my opinion, are really just suggesting using it right off the spoon throughout your day. All right, so guys, we're going to take a break in a second. When we come back, you want to hear about the infant formulas choices. So again, if you can't breastfeed or you know someone that really is in need for healthy infant formula, I'll tell you what's out there and also how to make your own. So we will be right back. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches, and of course, Dr. Ravi will be here every month as usual. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Krass Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis. Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce and hosted by Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining me this Wednesday morning. I am talking about infant nutrition. So the first half of the show, we pretty much covered breastfeeding. And again, if you have any other questions, obviously I love talking about this topic. And I have done some recent research since my days of breastfeeding, and it's pretty much the same, other than the concerns about infant formula now and baby food, which in the last few years has come to the media's attention. So I'm not going to really go into too much detail about the dangers of those things, because there's sometimes that moms, it's it's a lot of work to be a parent, and I don't want to make it where it seems like impossible to give your baby some good nutrition. So for the second half, I'm going to really try to just focus on what you should do versus what you should avoid. But there is one topic that I definitely think as far as avoiding, that sometimes it's the easiest thing, but yet people never talk about it. And I actually did many years ago one of my radio shows just on this, and I had it as on the quiz show. And the question was, what is the most toxic room in a family's home? And the answer was the baby's room. And why is that? Because you are introducing to one little, usually small area, so many toxic chemicals through the new clothing, and a lot of the clothing around infants and the infant furniture has tons of flame retardants on it, tons of bromides, phthalates. Oh, they're everywhere in the baby's room. So the new clothing, sometimes new paint, and even though our paints are supposedly cleaner than before, still a lot of chemicals. So control what's easiest for you. And to me, to buy really clean baby skincare products that do not have phthalates and sulfates, that's easier now. You can get them anywhere. I was just shopping at one of I think it was TJ Maxx yesterday, and they even have shampoos that do not have phthalates. So they're affordable, they're accessible, and as far as there's organic clothing now, if you really want to go extreme, or you can just make sure that you're using all natural baby detergents and washing all your materials when they come into the house, airing out the baby's room, get as much fresh air and circulation into that baby's room as possible. And your room as well. There are really cool air purifying systems that are available now, but it's not just cleaning the air, it's also introducing some nature into it. So I remember when I first had my son, I went out and I bought 9 spider plants. Spider plants are great to absorb VOCs in the home, okay? So if you are just super excited about ordering all this stuff for the baby's room and decorating it to the nines and making it just perfect, and you're going to sit in there and, feed your baby, you definitely want to take care of all the obvious. So any fragrances that are synthetic, okay, so definitely don't do any plug-ins. And I know life gets smelly, okay, but do not use synthetic smells to cover those. Those are very dangerous for a newborn and for yourself. And you want to look at if you're going to refinish furniture, you make sure not only obviously you do it outside, but you leave it outside as long as possible. Plan these things very early. Don't just put the last coating on, a few days before the baby's coming home. You want to let this stuff cure and be outside of your home. Even dry cleaning, you want that to air out, in your garage or an outside space for a little bit before you bring it in. So those to me are the easiest, fastest fixes to give your newborn the best chance at having a toxic-free environment, okay? So the other real easy one, and a lot of areas of the world are a little better at this than we are, okay? Our infant health definitely needs to be worked on a bit, okay? So is the sun. So the babies, I believe this is intentional as a human when it's first created, doesn't really, have the vitamin D needs met through nutrition or breast milk. And what I why I believe it is because it's meant to be out in nature, that infant, because the sun obviously will not only give it the D, but so many other amazing phytochemicals that make a strong human. So that's why I believe that our breast milk doesn't have a lot of D, not because the baby doesn't need it, because that baby and the nursing mother or mom in general should be out, because that will prevent postpartum. It will help just overall mood. You gotta, and I know it's hard when you're tired and you're just, feeding your baby and up through the night, or gosh forbid, taking care of other little kids at home or a job. It's tough, but even just a few minutes of early morning sun, just to get your melatonin stores in, and to kind of just set the baby on the right circadian rhythm, when is sleeping, when is waking, is incredible, and especially the nutrition. So to me, that's another easy fix. And what's really cool is there's so many parts of the world that you'll see these courtyards, and you'll see tons of strollers with the infants just in them. The moms are in the middle, kind of just talking, having social time, which is really incredible for mental health. But so here's these moms, and all these strollers are lined up. And why? So these babies get the sun. So all around the world, this practice has been in place for so long, where the infants, the most important part of the day is outdoor sun. And we all know that our system is only set up to discuss sun if your baby is jaundiced coming home. So if the baby's jaundiced, it's like, oh no, let's put them in an incubator. And what do they give them? Infrared. To be, they're trying to mimic what the sun does to get the baby healthy again. So don't leave it up to them. Get your baby in the sun, okay? Get that early morning stroll in or late day stroll in. It just takes a few minutes of that beautiful sun to get that you and the baby healthy. All right, so to me, those are two easy, quick fixes. All right, so now if you're not breastfeeding and you need a good formula, I would love for you to Google Weston Price formula. You can make this homemade, and you can give your baby even better nutrition than any of those containers on the store shelves. After reviewing almost every single formula that's available to us, and I know there's a shortage now, but even before the shortage, if you look at all the formulas, they are all synthetically fortified with vitamins, okay, even the organic ones. Okay, most of them have genetically modified ingredients. There's 2 exceptions. So they will say non-GMO on it, like Similac has one that says non-GMO. But the problem is, then they're sweetened with corn syrup solids, which pretty much has been outlawed everywhere else throughout the world. It's just like the high fructose corn syrup. The human body was never meant to run on corn syrup, fructose, or I'm sorry, not fructose. High fructose corn syrup, okay? So fructose comes from fruit, never meant to concentrate it down. And then they're also putting rice concentrate in there, which is really been all over the news for the last few years, but they're doing a really great job at pushing it down. Because again, big industry, baby food and infant formulas, huge money there. And why are they pushing it down? Because brown rice concentrates, it sounds so healthy, doesn't it? It has so much arsenic in it. So, and again, what was all over the news, they had that congressional hearing. They invited 7 of the leading baby food companies to come and talk about that wonderful rice stuff that you put in your baby milk to, get your baby to sleep throughout the night. A perfect first food. Well, it's so dangerously high in toxic metals and arsenic. I don't think any mom, if they had the awareness or the warning on the label, would give it to their baby. So I really want to stress to you that any real nutritionist talking about infant growth and thing would never suggest you giving empty refined starch or corn syrup or any type of concentrated sugar. The baby's body is meant to have the lactose, and that is what's in the breast milk. And the enzymes, as they're born, are super high to digest that, and fat, because that's why the mother's milk goes from that beautiful milky sugar to tons of fat. Like, they call it colostrum, and it's like precious gold, okay? It really is. You'll see if you go on to any breastfeeding forum, they'll be like, how much colostrum did you make today? It's like this little competition. And that's where the formulas can't really fortify it because it's expensive. But if you do buy the formulas from Germany, they do all have that colostrum in there, and they usually only use the lactose and not the corn syrup solids, and it's also non-GMO. I mention that because if it is the genetically modified corn or starch, then you are talking about much higher levels of arsenic and heavy metals. All right, so now back to the Weston Price formula. Now you can go, and there's a YouTube video to show you how to make it, okay? So it's basically westonaprice.org, so WESTONA Price, PRICE.org, and there's recipes to make the homemade milk. It's pretty easy. Like, I read through it. It would take, it's just like I hate to say it, but if you make your homemade almond milk for the first time, it's a lot of work. It's messy. You're like, oh my gosh. But then you taste it and you're like, okay, it was worth it. Better nutrition, no chemicals, no carrageenan, no preservatives, and you're controlling the almonds, So it's the same thing with this formula. The first time, to get the ingredients, to get the tools, yes, it's going to be messy. It's going to be a little work, but it will be worth it, and your baby will love it. So definitely go and check that out and watch the video. It will give you a little peace of mind that you're in charge of your infant's nutrition, not some big industry that's making a profit off of the baby's illnesses. So, because they're not around when there's the childhood obesity, the autism, the ADD, the ADHD, all proven from toxic metal poisoning. And let's not go into diabetes and fatty liver, which now is off the chart. Fatty liver disease in children is more prevalent than fatty liver in alcoholics, okay? And that comes from all the sugar. And
So where do you get the ingredients?
I was in such a trance when you talked.
That's all right. Where do you get the ingredients?
Yeah, so there was a little shift change here. So you can get them anywhere here. And again, I want you to be very careful, because there are formulas out there that will use the word organic and mislead you, okay? So just like I've taught my listeners over the years, please never go by face value, okay? All the stuff you need to know is never on the front. That's what marketing companies are paid to let you see. Just flip it over and look at the ingredients panel. If you don't know what it is, or if it's a huge ingredients panel, then I put it right back down. But if you have the time to Google each ingredient and educate yourself in all the ones, then you'll get the basics, okay? Like, you want to stay away from palm oil. You want to stay away from canola oil. You want to stay away from the brown rice concentrate, the corn syrup solids. Those are the obvious ones. But like vitamin A palmitate, you want to stay away from that. There are a lot of tricky ones, okay? So again, I would probably have to go over 2 hours over every single ingredient, because again, you cannot match breast milk. This Weston Price formula, to me, is the closest, and it's doable, and you can make it at home, okay? And then, wow, only 10 minutes left. Whew. Okay, so I do want to go into transitioning babies from formula to food, because there's a lot of moms out there with the shortages saying, okay, well, I'll just transition my babies into food now then. Be very, very careful, okay? What's online is not so accurate, all right? Your baby's digestive system develops very slowly. It's not meant to ever have empty calorie processed food. So if you, like, there is a suggestion online about giving mashed potatoes, okay? And that to me is as bad as rice cereal, which has been used for like 50 years. If you want your child to have the best start, please, filling them up to make them sleep all night will give you more aggravation later in life, okay? I promise you on that. When it comes to their bodies developing their immune system, you talk about if you don't get their immune system tip top and you're worried about missing work, and all of a sudden your daycare systems, your child care worker, your school system starts calling you and you have to keep picking up your child because another cold, another this or another stomach bug, this will cause you more aggravation later in life. So you're not avoiding the sleepless nights if your baby constantly has ear infections or issues. So it's worth taking the time now to avoid the processed foods and the empty starches like mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are not only the worst genetically modified food besides corn, but it's also just an empty calorie starch with no real nutrition, okay? So you could introduce, like I started with avocados, okay? You have to do just a little healthy fat. It really keeps them full longer. It's a great way. It's a fruit technically, so it digests a little easier than most other foods. So that is a number one thing that I used, okay? And again, you start with very small amounts. The next one is sweet potatoes. I might have gone a little overboard with this with my son because he absolutely loves sweet potatoes. Like, who wouldn't? A sweetie starch. But lots of vitamins. But yeah, the pigments, the different carotenoids, great for brain and eye development. Remember, your eyes are part of your brain. Incredible. But you'll see their pigments start to get a little orange. Might mean maybe vary. And this is great. They do not have... They don't want the sweet stuff. Trust me, the children's instinct is fatty. So the next one is actually cod liver, okay? Now I know, oh, poor Cliff right here, Greg, he's like rolling his eyes at me. But cod liver oil, babies love it. So that is another great one. You just need, again, a little tiny bit of it. You put a couple drizzle on top of, a little a steamed vegetable that you blended, or even the yolk of an egg. These things, like, you'll see that some of these things are on an allergen list, and that's only because that's the industrialized version of some foods, okay? So if you do the healthy versions of the food, then you won't have a problem because you are developing your baby's immune system. So innately, unless you were really not taking care of yourself during the pregnancy months, your baby's immune system will be developing in the right way. It just needs some little help along the way with some steamed veggies to introduce them, a little healthy fats, the cod liver oil, wild fish like wild salmon, again, not farm raised, not tank raised. You want a little, and they have so many gadgets now. They have the special blenders for the baby food. They have the little, I used to use ice cube trays, but now they have fancy little labeling trays that you can take all your homemade baby food and store it. So one good day a week, you get all your vegetables prepared and you blend them and put it in, and it's perfect healthy baby food where you don't have to worry about what people are adding into your baby's formula. So you want to make it yourself, and it's not as much work as you think. It's actually super easy. Again, the first 2 times, and then you're a pro. And so you really want to pay attention to lots of healthy fats, okay? And lots of vegetables. But this introduction should never happen before 4 months. I always recommend 12 months, but I know for some right now that is not doable, waiting for 12 months. And if your baby seems really hungry, if you are nursing, you might need more nutrition. It takes a lot of healthy calories. And if you're doing formula, and your baby's still hungry, it's because the body needs so much for those, billion cells, right? So why don't you look into this Western Price formula instead of introducing food? It's just easier on the digestive system the longer you do the healthy breastfeeding or the healthy version of formula. 4 minutes left. There's so much more that I was really hoping to cover. All right. So the best takeaway here is the baby basically wants the carbohydrates coming from vegetables, not refined starches. Protein from non-industrialized protein. So you definitely want to, believe it or not, look for organ meats or grass-finished beef, not the lean cuts of meat like normally used, because that does not have the fat that the baby needs to make all the development necessary. And then fats in general, try not to do packaged fats, okay, like oils and bottles. You want to do the natural fat that is occurring from the food. So like if you olives, like, beautiful organic olives, versus olive oil. But olive oil, I feel like we still can get some pretty good quality imported olive oil here. So it's worth the money with that one, much more convenient. And salt, babies need salt, but not that toxic stuff that we call salt on restaurant tables. So you can go online. There's Celtic salt. There's also salt Baja, B-A-J-A, I'm pretty sure. That is only online, and that's like a food versus a salt, okay? So remember, we are saline. The baby needs salt too. So, okay, and when you transition them, even from the infant days, please really rethink the thought of juice. The babies don't need the water to be colored or sweetened. That is a fallacy that we think they want it. Sometimes they'll look at our habits of us drinking, soda or Gatorades or juices, and they just want what we have, but their body doesn't want it. They just think, well, if mommy, daddy, or family members are having it, it must be special. But if you want to be your best role model early on, is only drink water with the family. It just seems fair to just not, single out your toddler or infant. But really, juice has no nutritional benefits other than giving your child fatty liver. All right, so please rethink any liquids other than water. It's really important, and Gatorade is even worse than the sodas, so no exception there. And also cereal, really something to stay away from. Oh, okay. So guys, I hope I had more positives than negatives on the show. I really try to end things on a good note. So if you have any questions, please call me at the store, 464-3598, and my cell phone number's on the back of every business card. Come on in. We can text each other to help you in this journey. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week. And I think I have a guest, Cheryl from Terry Naturally. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great one.
You've been listening to A World of Nutrition right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie.
Talking the Treasure Coast.
Webcaster to the world, worldwide on TuneIn.